All right, and welcome to our UVA Pipelines and Pathways Building Wealth Financial Literacy series. We're very excited to be able to offer that as you gain employment or continue in your current roles in saving and budgeting. So I'm just going to quickly ask my name is Holly Lee, and I'm with the Pipelines and Pathways program. I'm just going to quickly ask the Pipelines and Pathways team to introduce themselves. Some of them are probably familiar faces that you've seen before. Just know that you can always reach out to any of us. So during this or after it, we do encourage you to ask questions during this webinar. It's meant to be interactive. So don't hesitate if you have questions. We'll be watching the chat box. You can raise your hand. So let's go ahead and have Antonio. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Antonio Stedman. I'm the Community Outreach Specialist, Job Readiness Trainer for Pipeline and Pathways. Glad that everyone's here, and I'm going to pass it on to Rayshawn.
Good afternoon. My name is Rayshawn Jones, and I am one of the opportunity navigators here at UVA Pipelines and Pathways. Welcome, and make sure you take plenty of notes. It's going to be some good information. I'm going to pass it to Victoria.
Oops, Corey, we can't hear you. Sorry about that, everyone. So Tori Maxey is also with the Pipelines and Pathways team, and she is our community resource navigator. So she is the individual that if you need help connecting to resources in our communities, if you're experiencing any issues that might be impacting your employment, feel free to reach out to Tori. Elijah?
Hey everyone, my name is Elijah Harrison. I'm also one of the opportunity navigators for the Pipelines and Pathways team, and we're really excited to have everyone here today. Thank you.
All right, thank you all again for being here. We have people joining us as we're getting started. At this time, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Edward Robinson. He is a financial advisor with Thrivent, and this is an expert that's here with you today, volunteering his time. So please take advantage of this great information. Edward?
Thanks so much, Holly, for introducing me. My name is Edward Robinson. It's good to see all of you. If you have the opportunity to get on camera and wave, say hello, go ahead and do that if you can. I would love to see a couple more folks and engage with you, talk with you a little bit, get a chance to answer some of your questions, so on and so forth. So, as Holly said, I am a financial advisor here in Charlottesville. I am in the downtown area, so that's where I spend a lot of my time. I'm actually in my office now. It's nice and quiet, but it is bitter cold. So help me, please. I'm from Buffalo, New York, so you would think I know something about cold weather. I do, but something has changed in my life. I don't like the cold as much as I used to. Yeah, I remember as a kid playing in snow, doing snow tunnels, jumping off the porch. We had that much snow in Buffalo. But for some reason, I run in the house straight from the car. And then when I get in the car, I'm turning on every heat function my car got. I turn the heat on in the back, and I'm not even in the back. It's cold, y'all. Anyway, hello everybody. And I wanted to hopefully go over a couple of things today. It's the new year. So now is the time for you to kind of tell yourself all the things that you're going to do. And so now is the opportunity for us to kind of, whatever it's New Year's resolutions, just a new mindset, new year, new me, whatever you got going on. A lot of times I'm sitting down talking to people and they're trying to get their money right in 2025. And so I want to give you a couple of tips. Hopefully, we're going to talk about specifically 4 money moves today that you can use to kind of set 2025 right. And so that's that. I like to tell people if you do what you've always done, then you'll get what you've always gotten. So if you want something new, you want a new result, then we gotta look towards making some changes. And for that particular reason, actually, I'm gonna share my screen with y'all here. And like I said, today we want to be able to cover those 4 money moves. The first one we're going to talk about is paying down your debt. Second one is managing your expenses. The third one is building up your savings. And then the fourth is protecting your income. But really where I want to start at, and I think this would be a good opportunity to kind of get us engaged in conversation a little bit, is I like to start with why. Whenever I sit down, work with somebody, talk to somebody, help them, whether it's coaching in business, whether it's budgeting, whether it's investments, insurance, whatever the case might be, I do it all. But I really want to figure out, why are we here? What are we trying to get at? What are our goals that we have in mind? And so I'm going to ask a couple of you. And if you don't volunteer, I'm going to put you out by name. So you might as well just go ahead and volunteer. Let's get this thing rolling.
I want
But
financial freedom
I like that. That's what I'm talking about. Now, why do you want to be financially free, Tonio?
because I want to be able to take trips without worrying about
Okay.
robbing Peter and Paul, or oh, did I got the money for the light bill, or can
Yeah.
I buy that purchase I want?
Yeah. Love that. Love that. So freedom of mind is what I hear for you. Freedom from stress, freedom from having to worry about this, that, or the third, and freedom to travel is what I'm hearing from you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. And then Holly, if you can monitor the chat for us in case a couple of folks put in there. Claudio, I see
Absolutely.
you kind of hopped on screen. You want to tell us, give me your financial why of why you want whether financial freedom, you want to build wealth, legacy, what it is for you.
I personally I want to build wealth for future generations, but I also want to be able to take care of my mother.
Okay.
Um, she unfortunately, as she gets older,
Yeah.
she ages. So I want to be able to take care of my people now and take care of my people in the future.
I love that. One of my dreams in life is to retire my mother. Um,
That is indeed one of my dreams as well. Yes, indeed.
yeah. So that's definitely a big reason why for me. And I happen to have 5 kids, so I got a lot of future
Wow.
legacies to I got a lot of future legacies to worry about. Yeah. So all right, good. Who else? Somebody else hop on. Tell me your financial why. Jane, Diane, Lasonia,
I'll
somebody.
sec I'll
Hi,
second
can you hear
the
me?
travel.
Travel. Okay, Jane says travel. Love that. Jane, where do you want to go?
Um, I think Europe would be great.
Okay, any specific country in Europe?
Um, I'm gonna go with Scotland.
Scotland. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting. All right. Trip to Scotland. Heard it's beautiful over there. All right, Diane, what you got?
Retirement.
Retirement. Okay. Now, what does retirement look like for you, Diane?
Retirement looks like leaving work, not working anywhere ever again in life, and just enjoying myself and sitting out back and just enjoying the backyard, reading,
Okay.
having fun.
All right. Now, Diane, I'm not going to ask you your specific age, but I will ask you your decade. What decade are you in? 40s, 50s, 30s?
I can't tell you, but
Okay. All right.
I'm looking forward to retirement.
All right. Now, Diane, are you over 55? Would you tell me that?
I'll show you. Hold on.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you hold on to that. We can talk on a separate note. All
No,
right.
I'm
Cool.
gonna show you me. I'm gonna show you me. Hold on. Hold on.
Now you're gonna make me guess now.
No, I'm not gonna make you guess. I'm just
Okay.
gonna
All
show
right.
you me.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, hello. Good to see you.
All
Good to
right.
see you.
It's very cold. It's very cold.
It's
So I've
cold.
got my cool hat on. I
It's
got my cool
cold.
hat on. But this is me.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello, Diane. All right. Good. Samuel, what you got? If you can hop on, just at least unmute yourself. Either Samuel or Brianna. I'm gonna ask that. Those only last few people I'm gonna bother.
Okay. Hi. I'd like to generate generational wealth, really.
Okay.
Um, and me and my family are interested in real estate. So we want to
Okay.
eventually have our real estate basically make our money for us and
Okay.
investments. And it's really why we're interested in being financially free, as I think it was Antonio said, like basically have our money make itself. So
Yep.
yeah, and just
Yep.
travel. I'm a traveler. I like to see the world.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to retire my mother, even though she talks about wanting to retire every year. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And then is there somewhere you want to go as far as travel?
Oh, I want to go a lot of places.
Okay.
But really,
Give me
Bora
top two.
Bora.
Okay.
Let's
Bora
see,
Bora.
Bora Bora
Okay.
and Paris are on my top two.
Okay. All right. Paris is beautiful. The architecture there is wonderful. So that's a great
Yes.
location. All right.
I
Great.
I want to go. I'm gonna speak it into existence. So I can't wait to see it. That's what I'm gonna say.
There you go. There you go. All right. Great. All right. So let's start with these four money moves. The first one is going to be to pay down your debts. So let me hop over here. By the way, I'll show you one more thing before we hop into that. Here's something that we reference. It's called our financial house, or building a strong financial house. It's sort of the theme of what we're trying to get at through UVA pipelines and pathways with these workshops is building wealth, building a strong financial future. And so this is something that we reference is basically just a checklist. It's also a sort of GPS to help you figure out where you are in the journey of building your financial house. Like, are you in the foundation phase, the growth phase, the spending phase, or the legacy phase? And in each phase, there are certain things that we want to hit. So if we're in the foundation phase, where we're trying to build a strong foundation, we're going to talk about emergency fund, debt, some of the things we'll discuss today. Making sure you have your paperwork in order. If you have, especially if you have children, you might want to make sure you have a will in place. If something happens to you, we need to know who gets what. You want meaningful insurance coverage. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then once again, paperwork designating your beneficiaries on your documentation. So those are some of the foundational pieces. Once we get through that, we talk about growing, and then there's a certain level of things there, and then we just kind of build on top of that. And so that's a good reference for you. In case you were looking at, okay, what are some of the things that I need to do? This is a good checklist system for that purpose. All right, let me hop back over here. So paying down your debts. The reason why debts are very, very important is because your debt is oftentimes stealing your future growth and your investment growth from you. So if you have debts, then a lot of times you end up paying a significant amount of interest. And instead of being charged interest, eventually what you want to be able to do is pay down that debt. So instead of purchasing interest or being charged interest, you can use that money then to build your own particular streams of income and your own particular wealth streams. And so paying down debts are important. There are certain debts that we are going to hold off on, but specifically the first one I want to talk about is credit card debt. So what I like to do is when I work with people, one of the things that I like to do with them is, let's get out of here. Let's leave that. Is make sure that we list the debts that we have. So one of the calculators that we use is something that's called a snowball debt elimination calculator. What is a snowball debt calculator? Basically, what it does is we get the opportunity to list out every debt that we have. Credit card debt, car loan debt, whatever we have, student loan debt. We usually leave the mortgage for last if you have a mortgage and you own a home. But we want to list out the debts. And for example, we would say, let's say we got $5,000 in credit card debt, and then we're going to put the interest rate on it. Then we're going to put down the minimum payment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to decide, hey, can we put anything extra on top of the minimum payment every month? And then once we do that, what we would do is that will help us to understand how long is it going to take for us to pay off this credit card or this student loan. And it gives us some realistic numbers. And if you're in a significant amount of debt, sometimes it can take years, but that's okay, right? Me and my wife, we paid off over $115,000 in debt some years ago. Now I'm gonna tell you, it took us 4 years because we were primarily on one income and so on and so forth. But we were committed to doing it. And so that's one thing is listing out your debts, figuring out how much they're charging you in interest, figuring out how much that interest is costing you. Because what you'll realize is in some cases you end up paying $100, $200, $300 in interest per month. And that's all money that could be used to build your future to get to that why that you talked about. So let me go back over here. So paying down the debts become very important. This whole process is adding them up, creating a payment plan, a payment structure, and saying to yourself, now the reason they call it a debt snowball is because once you pay off, let's say you got 5 debts. Let's say you got 2 credit cards, 2 medical bills, and student loans, for example. Once you pay one of those things off, the payment that you were making on that previous debt, you roll into the next one. And then you roll once you pay off the two, you roll those payments into the third one. That's why they call it a snowball, because it constantly gets bigger and bigger until you completely eliminate the debt. Now, once again, some of you talked about real estate. I'm not talking about real estate debt here. I'm talking about consumer debt for this intents and purposes. Those will be your credit card bills, your medical bills, your student loans, primarily. And then, we have a calculator in case somebody wanted to, um, in case somebody wanted some help from me on that front. But there's also, you can Google debt snowball calculators and get a good Excel spreadsheet on your own as well. Any questions on the debt piece? Everybody good? Everybody sort of understands that side of it? All right, cool. By the way, we do have we have a service called Money Canvas. It's completely free. I work with people on budgeting and debt stuff for completely free, just to kind of help people get a system, get a strategy, get a structure in place. I can, if somebody wanted some help on actually listing their debts out and getting that full report of that debt snowball calculator, we can help do that at no cost. All right, so that's that. The second thing is, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. I think that's pretty self-explanatory unless y'all have questions. The second one is managing your spending. Now, this is the hard part. Managing your spending is not easy at all. I'm gonna just tell you. It's kind of like trying to chase 13 rabbits in an open field. Right? So what we want to do is build some fences. So when it's time to catch those rabbits, they at least stay within the fence line. And so what do I mean by building fences? We have to have a budgeting structure and system. Fortune 500 companies have budgets. And if we think we don't need them, then we ain't living right. So we have to have a budgeting system. Now, when I say a system, you need to either have an Excel spreadsheet or an app on your phone that tracks your spending. If you're looking for an app, y'all can look up something called Every Dollar. You can look up something called Rocket Money. And then I think well, who else has one? I think Credit Karma has one. I used to use one called mint.com, but they got rid of that. That was my favorite one back in the day. And though none of these companies pay me to advertise for them, so Google. But I will give you a couple. Every Dollar is probably the best free version of it, the best free budgeting app. And then, like I said, Rocket Money is also a good one. So on and so forth. But you need some type of tracking system. I'm good with Excel. So if those of you who like Excel, those of you who like writing it down on paper, amen. That's what our grandmamas used to do. Right? And so grandma and grandpa wrote stuff down. If you good with that, I'm good with it. I like it, right? It gives you a sense of control. Writing is a form of thinking, by the way. But you need to have some system of being able to track it. The reason why I like apps and budgeting apps is because most of us are doing a lot of digital spending, right? With credit cards, with our debit cards, Amazon, and sometimes it's hard to track if you have an app that connects your accounts to your budgeting app, then it automatically tracks your spending. And most of us are not using cash anymore. And so everydollar.com budgeting app, something like that, Rocket Money, those will give you some of the opportunities to do some of those things, connect your accounts, so on and so forth, so that you don't have money that you're spending on a card that you're not tracking. You can, by the way, let me just tell you this. You cannot control what you do not know. And if you do not tell your money where to go, you will wonder where it went. I promise you. I promise you. Some of you are sitting on this call thinking to yourself, man, I had this amount of money. I made this amount of money. Tax season is coming up. You got to actually report those salaries. And you're like, I made that much money or whatever. And where did the money go? Where did my taxes go? You know what I mean? I had this money and Biden gave us money, Trump gave us money. What happened to that money? Like, you know what I mean? Whatever. Like, so the idea is if you don't tell your money where to go, you will wonder where it went. And so we got to get to the point where we're managing it and managing it well. I'll show you something that I use to help people with. This is called a personal cash flow worksheet. Typically, what we do, put your name at the top, put the date, and then we sit down. And when I go through it with people, I'm asking about everything. Now, you can fill this out on your own if you don't want to tell everybody all your business. That I don't mind. I don't care. I don't care what you spend your money on. I just care that you're honest about it. We're not here to judge ourselves for our spending. We're just here to say what we actually spend. We can judge it later. But for this sheet, we're just going to write down everything, starting off with our income, how much we're making from the job or whatever else we got. We can do it on a monthly or an annual basis. Then we're going to say, hey, are we giving to any church or charitable contributions, any charities or whatever else? We can put that on a monthly basis. Then are we setting anything aside for savings? How's the mortgage and the rent, taxes, renters insurance, utilities, gas, lights, right? We're gonna write down everything. Do we have any car loans, any car insurance? How much is gas costing us per week on an average? Any parking dues or anything like that? Um, Medical insurance, I usually keep off of this list because usually what I want up here on income is your net income, what you're taking home. We're not going to worry about gross, but net income here. Then we get down here to the fun stuff, right? Taxes, student loans, insurance premiums, food and groceries. By the way, food and groceries, almost all of us are overspending, but it is what it is. The gas, the eggs is high. I'm like, man, for 18 eggs, I paid $5. That's crazy. That's crazy work. But this is where we at. And I got 5 kids. So you know my bill high. My food bill high. I got a 7-year-old son that eat four slices of pizza. This is ridiculous. I didn't start eating 4 slices until I was a teenager. Something going on. Anyway. But phone and television, internet, right? Children, education, personal care and clothes, hair, nails, barbershop, salons, spas. We want to put that in here. We ain't here to judge ourselves. We're just here to be honest about what we spending. If you got pets, how much your dog costing you, your cat? Are you setting money aside for travel? Many of you mentioned travel. Are we paying for that? How much? And then gifts and holidays. Some of y'all know what y'all just spent for Christmas. Let's plan for it at least next year. So Christmas is on the calendar already, so we can at least plan for it. And then subscriptions, and then eating out. So once again, we just want to be honest with ourselves about what we're spending. This is a pretty comprehensive list of expenses. What I usually do with people is we do this. This is what I call a big picture budget. And then what we try to do is we try to execute on this budget every paycheck, every time you get paid. My encouragement to you is take you 15 to 20 minutes every time you get paid and go and catch those rabbits and tell them where to go. If you don't, you'll wonder where they went. So what I'm saying to you, every time you get paid, you should be sitting down that day, 15 to 20 minutes, and paying your bills, putting your money over here, setting yourself up, whatever it is. Take 15 to 20 minutes every time you get paid, at least, to control your spending and tell your money where to go. And if you do that, see what happens is people get trapped in a yearly budget or a monthly budget that they never look at throughout the year. I talk to people about this every week of my life. And that's what happens. We set beautiful budgets that we don't engage with on a monthly or biweekly basis. So I'm telling you to engage with your budget every time you get paid. If it's once a month, then it's once a month. If it's every 2 weeks, then it's every 2 weeks. But take the time to focus on yourself, your budget, so on and so forth, because nobody's going to do this stuff for you. All right. Did we talk about managing expenses? Any questions on budgeting? How are we feeling about that? LaSonia, how are we feeling? How about Trice?
I like that spreadsheet. I'm
Okay.
gonna have to use that. Um, because I mean it does fluctuate for me sometimes, but
Yes.
um yeah, so you said every time you get paid.
Every time you get paid, take you 15 to 20 minutes of your day to say, I'm gonna dictate where my money goes as soon as I get the money.
Okay.
Yep. The other thing is, so, and I don't care what you write down here. Here's the only number I care about. Total money in minus total money out. Do we have any money left at the end of the month, or do we have more month than money? We got to figure it out. Because if we have more month than money, then that means we're running up credit cards. So then we have to actually start judging our spending. There's only three ways to fix a money problem, y'all. Make more money, spend less money, get more money back in taxes. So, spend less money, make more money, or keep Uncle Sam out of our pocket. That's the only thing we can do. So we have to actually figure out, do we have more month at the end of the money, or more money at the end of the month?
I got to do all three.
Amen to that. I like that plan. I like that plan. But we start to address it one at a time, right? The lowest hanging fruit could easily be lessening our spending as we develop and find new income streams. But looks like Tori, what you got?
Are you all able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. So I have a question. What should that total look like at the very bottom? Like, what should we be focusing on? Because I know we want to at least break even, right? But if we have a goal as to what we want that number to look like, where should we focus on
Yeah.
as far as like dialing back? Because yes, we do. I know eating and bills and all of that is priority, but we also have to focus on self-care. So,
Yep. So it's up to you, really. Usually I told you a couple of areas. Usually, food and groceries and eating out is a big one. Um, so that's usually a big one. Credit card payments is a big one. So that's why we talked about listing out debts, because that interest that we're paying on that credit card, sometimes that's 25% interest. So a lot of the times that could be stealing some money from us, essentially, right? In credit card payments. Um, and then there's a couple of things in here that we can't change, right? Unless, if you're living in a place, you got to pay rent. You got to pay the light bill. You got to pay the water bill, right? So on and so forth. So what we try to do is focus on those incidentals in terms of, are we spending too much eating out? Are we spending too much going out? Things like that. Some things we can't change and some things we can change. So it's more of a personal conversation on, all right, what is a non-negotiable for you? Versus here are some things that we can negotiate and figure out. We don't actually need that. That's more so a luxury or just something that we want, but we don't actually need. So it's going back to that age-old thing of wants versus needs.
And I will say that I can admit that like I started writing all this stuff out
Hmm.
the end of last year,
Yeah.
and I found, which again, we're not here to judge. I
Right. Right.
found
Right.
about $565 extra. And since I've been scaling back, I've been like, okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important because let's say we got 500 and right. Let's say we got 600 bucks at the end of the month. That is what we use to start building our wealth, period. That's what we start using to invest, to make sure we have the right insurances in place, right? So whatever we have extra is what we use to start building toward our future. So that's why it's really important to know this number. Do I have any money at the end of the month? And then the question becomes, what do we do with that money? We can do a couple of things. We can use it to pay down our debts. We can use it to make sure we got the right insurance in place. We can use it to make sure we got the right investments, right? If you want to buy a house, you want to get into real estate, you start to use some of that money to set it aside, right? Or number four, we can use that money to save, which is actually going to be our next point, is building your savings. So it's important to know once you manage your expenses, the biggest thing that we're trying to figure out is how much money do we have at the end after we pay all of our bills, incidentals, so on and so forth. Now we can figure out how fast we can build our savings. By the way, let's talk about saving for a little bit and investing. If you come out of the church space, many of you may have remember tithing, which is giving up 10%. Good, I love it. Love the concept. What I also want you to do is tie to a charity or whatever, because generosity somehow ends up just, it's a universal principle. Generosity is a blessing back to you. So in addition to giving, what I also want you to do is be generous to yourself and save at least 10% towards your own future. Meaning 10% towards your savings or 10% towards your investments. Eventually, I want you to kind of get there. So I would split this up actually 10-10, which is giving and future, 30% wants, 50% needs. All right, let's talk about building your savings. 40% of America, only 40% of America could cover an unexpected expense greater than $1,000. So what that means is 60% of America, we're in a situation where we would struggle to come up with $1,000 in an emergency. So my thing is, on a base level, I want you to be able to, at the very base, get you $1,000 to $2,000 set aside in the bank. If you're starting from zero, then get at least $1,000 to $2,000 set aside. That will keep you from freaking out when you walk outside and the tire is flat. That will keep you from freaking out when you have a medical bill for a couple $100s that you weren't expecting. And so what I want you to do is eventually let's get us to the point where we don't have to run to the credit cards. We use the credit cards. The credit cards don't use us. And so now the credit cards are using us when we're paying 25 to 29% interest. At that point, they're using us when we can't pay that credit card bill off at the end of the month. And so what I want us to do, get $1,000 to $2,000 saved up. That might take you 6 months, might take you 9 months, whatever it is. We develop a savings goal, a savings plan, which is another calculator we use. How long would it take us? In this case, we said 1,000. We said $2,000. Let's say we said $2,000, right? And then we decide, all right, maybe we can save $200 a month. And then what I'm going to tell you to do is, I'm going to tell you to put your savings in something called a high yield savings account. Don't just put it in a regular savings account because the bank is not giving you any money for that. Put it in a high yield savings, get you at least 3 to 4%. Those high yield savings are going down as interest rates go down, but you still get you at least a good 3% on that money. Because I want you to be in the habit of putting your money in places where it's always growing. But if you did $200, then it would take you 10 months to get to that 2,000. But you dedicate, hey, every time I get paid, let's say I get paid every 2 weeks, every check, I'm gonna put away $100 over the next 10 months. Am I still sharing my screen, by the way? Okay, good. All right, so we want to create that savings goal. Does anybody already have a savings goal in mind? Talk to me.
I want to save at least well, at least 6 to 7, or be able to pay my, home debt, mortgage and stuff like that, at least, 6 to 7 months saved up.
Yeah. Yep. And that's ideal. So once we get beyond that 2,000, then we're going to move to a 3 month of expenses savings goal. Now, what is 3 months of expenses? That means that's why everything is in sequential order. Once we do that budget and we say, all right, I'm spending $4,000 a month. It costs me $4,000 a month to live. Then our 3 month savings goal, that means we're going to go from 2,000 to 12,000. And let's at least get to that. I at least like I want you to start at the basis. Let's get 1,000 to 2,000. The second mile marker is going to be let's get up to 3 months. Because why I say 3 months, if you lose your job, something crazy happens, then you're in a position to have 3 months without you freaking out. You can live for 3 months, but that means you got to get a job within that 3 month time frame before you're gonna need that income. The whole point of this, listen, let me tell y'all something. Let me give y'all some insight. Most people think economics is about money, and it kind of is. However, the other side of economics is psychology. It's about human behavior. Economics is a mixture of finance and psychology. A lot of times I'm telling people things because I want you to stay away from financial stress and financial worry. So part of the savings that you're going to build up is to keep you away from worrying too much when life happens. Because I promise you, life will life. And when life does what life does, you're in position and you're prepared for it, then you experience it differently and your mental health is a little different. Financial stress, financial depression, these are real things. And so in order to avoid that, we just have to prepare for sometimes what that rainy day is going to look like. All right. So we talked about emergency fund. We talked about 3 months up to 6 months. Now, once you get maximum 6 months worth of expenses, that means if you were spending $4,000 a month, 4 times 6 is 24. That means the most money I want to see in your account, your savings account, and a high yield savings is $24,000. After that, not another dime in there. Everything else goes towards investments. Because if you have more than 6 months of savings, and I know that's a lot, then you're over saving. And I know why people do it. Our grandmamas did it. They oversaved, but they didn't invest a lot. So I want you to think about investing after that, but we'll talk about that at another time. So, all right. Any questions before I move on? Any questions on savings? How to get started, how to get going, so on and so forth. Brianna, what you got?
Yeah. Do you have some examples of high yield like banking institutions that have high yield savings accounts?
Most major banks have them.
Okay.
Well, like when I say most, I mean I'm thinking PNC, I'm thinking Chase, I'm thinking Wells Fargo.
Okay.
You can call your bank and say, I want to move my money to a high yield savings account.
Okay. Because I don't know if mine does or not. I think it does,
Yeah,
but I just never knew that that was like the actual term
yes.
of the like a savings account. Okay.
Yep. And that will get
Thank
you
you.
anywhere from 3 to 4. It should get you anywhere from 3 to 4%, roughly. And
Hmm.
that's better than the 0.02% that they're giving you in your checking and your regular savings account at your bank.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because whether or not this is a little insight into banking. I think we're gonna, we'll talk. You guys are gonna talk banking at the next workshop. But banking works like this. The bank, once you put money in, they're able to loan 9 times the dollars you put into the bank. What I mean by that is if you put in $10, the bank can go out and loan out $90 to somebody else. And then they're going to make interest on the loans that they give to somebody else, whether that's mortgage, real estate, whatever it is. So they're making money off of your money. And for most part, they're giving you pennies back in a savings or a checking account. A high yield savings is at least a little bit better than that.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
With high yield savings account, so do you have to leave your money in there for like a certain amount of time? Like for an example, like a CD or like a CD, you have to keep your money for um
Mm-mm.
10
No,
months,
no,
whatever.
no, no. High yield savings account is liquid. When we say liquid, it means it's you can get it immediately. I don't want your savings money tied up in a CD because if someone were to lose their job or something crazy happens, they need to get that money out now, not in 3 months or 6 months. So I want your savings money to be liquid cash. Yep. Holly, how we doing in the chat? Anything?
We're doing great. And actually, most
Okay.
people are just jumping in and raising their hands. So that's
All
good.
right. Good, good, good. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What I was saying was that I think I was on mute. Is with the high yield savings account, you have to also make sure that you have a certain amount of money to put in that account, and you don't want it to go below a certain amount, or you won't get that high yield. Just FYI.
Yeah. So every banking system is different on their high yield options. And so what Diane is bringing up is that you want to make sure that your bank does not have a required minimum. And every banking system is different. Some of them don't have that. Some of them do. So call your bank, ask them about a high yield savings, and ask them, is there a minimum for that account? All right. Last thing is, remember, let's go back to this financial house. When you're in this sort of foundation phase, you want to build up your savings. You want to focus on your debts. We talked about that. But you also want to make sure you have meaningful coverage in place. There's two main types of coverage that matter: life insurance and disability income insurance. Life insurance it covers your beneficiaries in case you pass early, something happens to you sooner than expected. Disability income insurance covers you in case you get sick or injured. Both of these insurances are necessary, and these are the primary insurances you need to worry about, at least on the personal finance side, as you're in this sort of foundation and growth phase. Just because what we don't want to do is have our income jeopardized by injury or illness if we can't work for more than 3 months or so. So protecting your income is about making sure you have the right type of life insurance in place, enough life insurance in place, and disability income insurance as well. Um, I don't have time to kind of go over all the different types of insurances in terms of life insurance, but you just want to make sure that if something happens to you, we don't have to do a GoFundMe. I see a couple folks shaking their head at that one because that's happened many, many times in my family and my community. It happens all the time. And the only thing sometimes that I think is we might have missed an opportunity to get us some life insurance in place at the time that we needed it. It's really, really important. All right. Not planning for unfortunate things to happen doesn't mean they won't. And sometimes unfortunate things seem to hunt out those of us that are unprepared. It just feels like it sometimes. Um, the disability insurance. So life insurance covers you in case something happens to you early. The disability insurance is important also because 25% of people um, of 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will be unable to work before retirement age. That's due to illness or injury. And so you want to make sure you have a couple. Now, usually what happens is um, if usually you have some disability insurance through work, and usually you have some life insurance through a job if you're employed. The challenge is, specifically with the life insurance, is usually never enough. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 times your salary. Um, but that's usually not enough to cover for for the loss of you, basically. So we go through, I talk to people about that, just look at the importance of that. Once we get that in place, savings in place, budgeting in place, taking care of debt, we're well on our way to building a strong foundation. Well on our way. Many of you should know in general what your life insurance number would be. And I call it the fun dime. I can sort of I'll skip that piece. If somebody wants to know what their life insurance number is, we can go through that. But otherwise, there's just a couple of things that you want to have in place. And knowing what is a meaningful amount of protection. You don't want anybody to oversell you on life insurance. You just need to know what you need to know. And then I'll do one more thing for you. Last question is going to be, do you have a will in place? Specifically for those of you who have people that are depending on you for income, and there will be significantly financially impacted in case something happens to you. Do you have a will in place? There have been famous people, Prince, Aretha Franklin comes to mind, who did not have proper paperwork before they passed, and it caused a lot of issues in their families. And so I want to make sure that you have some type of will in place, and you can do that online or through a lawyer. Um, and then the last thing is, I believe everybody needs a financial plan. And some of you like, I don't have enough money for a financial plan. Everybody needs a financial plan, even if your financial plan is to get more money. Everybody needs a plan. And so that's a part of the work that I do, part of the work that we do over at the company that I work for. Is called Thrivent. We work with people who are just getting started. And by the way, that's a rare thing in the financial planning space. Most financial planners, most financial advisors are not going to talk to you till you have a certain amount of money. We'll talk to you. We'll help you get started. We'll help you from zero. So that's a little bit about, I mean, I can talk to you more about Thriving, but that pretty much concludes my time, Holly. I think we went over those 4 money moves. Remember, we talked about paying down your debts, managing your expenses. We talked about building up your savings, and we talked about making sure you have the right protection in place, insurance in place. And so that would conclude it. And make sure that you take this time. Listen, some of you are ready now. Get it done now. Make the phone calls now. Get the help now. You can reach out to me or somebody else now. Now is the time. And if this is not your area of strength, then that's why you get with somebody who's strong in this area. Fitness was not my jam, so I went and hired me a personal trainer. So we don't have to be everything. We don't have to be strong in every area. That's what community is for. That's what relationships are for. That's what connections are made for, so that you can borrow from other people's strengths. And so now is your time to get that done. Don't delay, don't wait. Get it done now. Move now. Act now. Make the phone calls now. Call the bank today if you want to move that money to a high yield savings. Don't overthink it. And don't sit in your emotions on it. If you know it's the right thing to do, I have a rule. My rule is sounds good, let's go. Sounds good to me, sounds good to somebody outside of me, right? An advisor, a friend, my mama, in my case, my wife. Like, sounds good to me, sounds good to somebody outside of me. After that, I'm not asking no questions, I'm moving. I'm grooving. Sounds good, let's go. And so some of you don't delay, don't wait, and don't sit on it. If you know that there's one of these money moves that you need to make, whether it's listing the debts, let's do that now. Let's do it this weekend. Let's do it today. Right? You got some time tonight. So I know the Netflix show, whatever else is coming on. Football is going to be on this weekend. Some of y'all got the inauguration you was watching this week. There's a lot of stuff happening. But put something to the side and get right down the list of debts. If that's all you do, and call the companies to figure out how much they charge you in interest. Some of you is making that budget. You can use this personal cash flow worksheet. Some of you, it's, hey, I know I don't have the right type of insurance. I don't even know what he's talking about. I need to ask somebody. You know what I mean? And so some of you is, hey, I need to move that money to a high yield savings because I got 5 grand or whatever I got, and I need to move that money over. Let me call the bank today. Make some type of action now. Don't just listen to a good seminar because nobody cares how much I know, right? I know a lot, but nobody cares, right? Nobody cares how much I know, and I can come. And I'm not trying to be impressive. I'm trying to get you to move and shake. So anyway, that's that. Much love to y'all.
Thank you so much, Edward. So, as Edward said, it is imperative that you start on this now, no matter how young you are, because you would be surprised how quickly 20 years goes by. And I can attest to that. So from firsthand experience, you think, oh, I'm young, I have time. And, it really goes quickly. And then especially for individuals who have new jobs. I mean, if you're working with the University of Virginia, you obviously have a retirement plan. There's matching involved in that, and you can contribute more if you'd like. So this is something that you need to start thinking about for the long term. And so this was a great presentation, Edward. Thank you so much. And you're okay if we include your contact information for folks to reach out?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So when I send out the link to this recording, I'll include Edward's contact information. And then always, feel free to reach out to us as well if you have anything or need anything. So thank you all, and we're looking forward to the next one. Have a great afternoon.
All right, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.